council meeting to order. We'll dispense with the formalities. Mr. Wheeler, we have a roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. McQuarrie?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Stewart?
Here.
President, you have a quorum, and the meeting is open for transaction of business.
Thank you. First item, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Next item, approval of previous minutes, November 26th and December the 5th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes, November 26th and December 5th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Old business. Discussing city council candidates. So I entertain a motion for candidates at this time.
Mr. President, I reviewed the 10 applicants. I find Lynn Bray, my nominee last week, was and still is the best qualified candidate. She's contributed more than any other on this list of 10 to the city of Scottsboro for different boards, non-compensated. Therefore, I nominate Lynn Bray.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Gary Stewart.
Any other nominations? Okay. Mr. Wheeler, we do a roll call vote on Mr. Stewart.
Yes, sir. For Mr. Gary Stewart, Mr. Smith,
Nope.
Ms. McQuarrie,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes. That's a majority vote. Mr. Stewart is elected. New business. Consider an ordinance to authorize execution of a grant agreement between the city and the Industrial Development Board of the City of Scottsboro, Alabama, respecting the proposed industrial development bond series 2012 of the board and other matters respecting the said bonds. And I'll call on Mr. Ward and Kane Burnett. And Mr. Wright.
Mr. Chairman. The council, you have before you tonight an ordinance that concerns the proposal by the Industrial Development Board to issue a series of bonds that will be used for two purposes. The bonds will pertain to the Sano project that I think the council is aware of. The bonds will do two things. They will refinance some existing obligations of the board at a lower interest rate that already pertain to the Sano facility. And then it will enable Sano to expand its operations at the existing facility. I think the council has previously authorized a support to the issuance of these bonds by granting some credit support to allow the bonds to be sold in the public market. And what you have before you tonight in the ordinance is the means by which the council will do that. This ordinance authorizes the city and the Industrial Development Board to enter into a grant agreement, which will allow the city to grant to the Industrial Development Board funds that are necessary, if any, are necessary to support payment of these bonds in the public market. The bonds will, the expectation and the intention is that the bonds will be paid through lease payments by Sano. And the bonds are being structured right now so that lease payments will always be sufficient to cover.
Doesn't go against our city's debt.
That is correct, it is not.
By doing this under Amendment 772, which was enacted a few years ago, purely for the purpose of industrial development, it sets up another pool of the city's debt limit. And it is much enhanced and much greater, and this will not go against our regular general obligation debt limit.
Question. The whole transaction is structured where the lessor, IDB, is paid by, the rent is paid, and the rent, plus I believe 30 basis points, more than covers payments during the entire 15 years that the lease is in place and that the bonding sheet is in place, correct?
That is correct.
And I believe the lease also calls for them to have an option to renew at different terms later on.
That's right, after the bonds have been fully paid and every obligation of the IDB has been satisfied, then Sano would have the ability to renew the lease.
15-year rate, where currently the loan is on an adjustable 5-year rate. That's correct.
That is correct. That's right. It will be fixed throughout the term, which I believe is 15 years.
That's correct. And even if they opt to attempt some sort of renewal, council would have to come back at that point in time. The city's obligation expired.
Sano has been a great employer for Scottsboro, Jackson County. Do you know how many expansions this will make them since they started operation?
This will be the sixth one.
6 expansions.
They have 100, at least 191 employees now, and the expectation is a minimum of an additional 50 with this expansion. This expansion actually includes a little bit of extra square footage. They
I
are.
have a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we set the rules aside to consider this ordinance.
Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Wheeler, will you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. McQuarrie,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes. Now for the adoption of the ordinance. Do I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I make the motion to adopt the ordinance.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wheeler, will you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. McQuarrie,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is Recreation Department surplus equipment. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion that we put the so listed equipment on GovDOT bills to see if we can raise any money from it, and it go to the recreation's capital outlay fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Next item is the Food World license, alcoholic beverage license. Do I have a motion to accept this?
I make a motion to accept the license.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. I just want to thank the IDB and Dust Rogers and Roy for their hard work in getting this done. And, up in Scottsboro. Congratulations to Gary Stewart on the new council member. I want to thank everyone that put their name in the hat for that. We have a Next meeting is a work session and a council meeting on December 17th at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make it one.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. We're adjourned.